Hello all, welcome again to yet another programming screencast on PageRank. As you all saw in the previous videos, we performed an activity. In this particular activity, people were asked to choose their leader. So we now have the data with us. We have the data in the form of edges. Yes, as you all know, we need a directed graph in order to calculate PageRank. So we'll be creating a directed graph out of this data. First of all, let me explain this data. We have this data in the form of edge list. If we have 1, 2, that means there is an edge from 1 to 2. If we have 1 space 3, that means we have an edge from 1 to 3. In the same way, we have the data in the form of edge list. You can see the rest of the edges. So now our task is to make a graph out of these edges. So how can you make a graph out of this data using Python? Well, this is also very much possible and very easy in Python. So let me show you how can you create a graph out of this data. As in always, you need to import network X first. So I'll just import network X SNX. Then you also need to import the matplotlib library. So I'll just write matplotlib.pyplot as plt. After that, you need to write just one function in order to read the data. Yes, in order to read the data, you just need to write a function of network X. What that function is, I'll just write g is equal to nx dot read underscore edge list, and in this particular bracket you need to pass the path of your data file. So I have stored the data in a txt file, in a .txt file. So I'll just write the path of this file. I'll write it's in users Simran Setia desktop. My file name is page underscore rank dot txt. Apart from the path that you need to supply here, you also need to write R here. Apart from the path that you need to supply, you also need to supply two more parameters here. First is create underscore using. It describes whether you want a directed graph or a simple graph. So since we need a directed graph, I'll write nx dot digraph. And after this, I need to write the node type. Node type is int here, so I'll just write node type is equal to int. Since we have anonymized the nodes here, we had the data in the form of names of the different people, but we had anonymized the data. Now we have data in the form of numbers. In the form of numbers, we have 1, 2, 3 till around 25. So we have read the graph from the txt file. Now we just need to draw this graph. How can you draw a graph? Simple, nx.draw capital G, and you also need to pass with labels is equal to true, since we need to show the labels. I'll just write with labels is equal to true, and then you just write plt.show. So I think this is done. So let me run this program. So as you can see, we have a graph here the graph that has been read from the txt file. Okay, so this is fairly simple in Python. You can easily read the data and draw a graph out of that data. So the function that you need to use here is g is equal read underscore edge list. What you need to write here is you have to initialize the graph variable. G is equal to nx dot read edge list. First of all, you need to supply the path of your particular txt file. After that, you need to supply that whether you want to draw a directed graph or a simple graph, and then you also need to supply the node type here. And we had nodes in the form of 1, 2, 3, so we supplied node type is equal to int here. So when you run it, you can easily see your graph. So as you can see, this is fairly simple in Python. You can try that. And now your task is to run PageRank algorithm on this particular graph and tell us who was the leader of the group. So I hope that this programming screencast was useful to all of you. Thank you.